Okay, 1 second. Let me just double check that. So that is Ityan Vata Rupam Swarupena Rivastiti. Yeah, that's Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, 10th chapter, verse number 6, which is a definition, another definition in the Bhagavad Gita of liberation. So, Muktir hit yanvata rupam swarupena vyavastiti. So that's Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, 10th chapter, number 6. Okay. And that verse says, that verse says, liberation is the permanent situation of the former living entity after he gives up the changeable, gross, and subtle material bodies. This is spoken by Sukadeva Goswami. So basically what he's saying is that once our gross and subtle body is purified of all material desires, speculation, and desires for sense gratification and so forth, then our permanent situation of eternal life in the spiritual world is established, and that is real liberation. Okay, so then Prabhupada, so those are two verses right from the beginning. This 5th chapter, 5th canto, 5th chapter, 2nd verse, and then the 2nd chapter, 2nd canto, 10th chapter, 6th verse. And then Prabhupada quoted Brahmabhuta Prasanatma Nasochati Nakangsati Samaksarve Subhutesu Madbhaktim Labhate Param. And that is the 18th chapter, 54th verse, where Krishna tells Arjuna, he says, Brahmabhuta Prasanatma, the stage of being transcendental to the modes of material nature, in other words, no longer conditioned by the modes of material nature. And the first symptom of that is one becomes prasanatma, fully joyful, and no longer subject to lamentation or hankerings, material desires. And samaksarve subhutesu, equally disposed toward all living entities. In other words, in the next verse, Prabhupada explains more deeply what that means. Samaksarve subhutesu, equally disposed to every living entity. That includes the aquatics, the plants, the reptiles and worms and insects and birds and mammals and human beings. And why is that? Because one develops the vision to see the presence of the supersoul in the heart of every living entity. So therefore, one becomes fully joyful, one no longer laments or desires to have anything, and he's equally disposed, he or she is equally disposed toward every living being or living entity. That means that they actually begin to see the presence of the supersoul in the heart of all living entities. They no longer see the bodily false identification of a person. Why do we say false? Because the body is always changing. And therefore, one cannot say that I am this body. But I am the consciousness that's witnessing the changes of the body. And that consciousness is a symptom of the soul. And through what you would call a sense of equality, if I have a soul and I'm witnessing the changes of my body, and I'm conscious of the world, then other living entities, whether they have a brown body, a white body, or whatever color body, or whatever ethnicity, or whatever place of birth, they also have the same, let's say, soul as I do. When you mean the same soul, in other words, it's not simply that human beings have a soul. All living beings have a soul, and therefore there must be respect for the life of a living being, whether it's a plant or an insect, a human being, a bird, a reptile, regardless. So this is called samadarshi, having equal vision, seeing with equal eye. And this is explained also in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where it says, yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the supersoul. So in any living body, there's the individual jiva and there's the supersoul. So that when you begin to understand that theoretically, and no longer look at bodily differences, but rather see the similarity that we are all have a relationship with Krishna, then we develop this vision of equality, or samadarshi. We see with equal vision all living entities, and we offer respect because they're all carrying the Supreme Lord in their heart. So this is Brahmabhuta Prasanatma, 18th chapter, 54th verse. And then, after that, Prabhupada quotes 5th chapter, 18th verse, Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmali Gavis Hastani Sunichaiva Swapakeja Pandita Samadarshina. So that verse explains equal vision, Samadarshi. Okay, so you see how Prabhupada is developing his lecture. He begins with a verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the first line says that the door to eternal liberation and salvation is opened up by associating with pure devotees. And then, but the door to, the word for door in Sanskrit is dwaram. Just like in India there's Haridwar. That means that beginning from that place, which is called Haridwar, you keep going up into the Himalaya mountains, and there is actually a staircase that goes from the Himalaya mountains up to the heavenly planets. And also, there are many great sages that live in the Himalaya mountains, and by going up into those deep recesses of the mountains, if you are pure at heart, you can meet them. Just like about over 1,000 years ago, Madhavacharya went up into the Himalaya mountains and actually met Vyasadeva and showed him his translation and commentary of the Bhagavad Gita. And Vyasadeva looked at it, examined it, gave it back to him and said, this is bona fide. This actually happened. I think it's like 1,200 years ago. So it is possible to meet Vyasadeva. He's still there. And other great devotees. Therefore it says that Mahat Sevam Dwaram, by offering service and associating with Mahat, pure devotees, the door to Vaikuntha, or eternal life, opens up. But Tamodwaram, the door to ignorance, is associating with people who are addicted to sense gratification, who are always meditating on sense gratification, and talking nonsense and doing nonsense. That's the door to ignorance. Tamodwaram, dwaram, door, tama is ignorance. And Mahat Sevam Dwaram, the door to liberation, vimuktes, is Mahat Sevam, offering service and associating with great devotees. Okay, so then next he explains a symptom of someone who is makes the first major step to attain liberation from the cycle of birth and death, and that is rising above the influence of the three modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance. And then he explains in the 1854 the symptoms. The first symptom is they're prasanatma. They have complete self-satisfaction without, being overwhelmed with money or sense gratification or prestige or any of those things related to the false ego. They're very happy just by acquired knowledge and realization. How do you acquire knowledge? You associate with genuine devotees, and you hear Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is the verse, 1854. And then when it says the devotee is self-satisfied, prasanatma, no longer lamenting, no more material desires, and then samak sarve subhutesu, they see all living entities with equal vision. They are kind, they're gentle, they're non-violent, and they're well-wishers of all living entities. So by engaging in devotional service, therefore, they attain this superior position above the influence of the modes of material nature. So that's the first big major step. And then he goes further. He says that after Brahman realization, after this step, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, of being above the influence of the modes of material nature, when one is perfectly free from all material anxieties, that is the beginning of Swarupa. Now, what is Swarupa? Swarupa means that one is equally disposed toward all living entities, Pandita Samadarshina, Samak Sarve Subhutesu. So, Pandita Samadarshana is 5th chapter, 18th verse. And then they no longer see, oh, this person's Indian, this person's American, this person's Bengali, this person's from Andhra. That is called Virupa, seeing all these false designations. But Swarupa means that you are above even Brahma Bhuta, even above the influence of the material modes, and you see with this equal vision, and you're kind, gentle, self-controlled, and then you begin to enter into the spiritual world where not only you begin to experience eternity, bliss, and knowledge. So that is Swarupa. That is our real position, our eternal position of liberation. Just like that verse he quoted, 2nd chapter, 10th verse, 10th chapter, 2nd canto, 10th chapter, 6th verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Muktir hityanvata rupam swarupena vyavastiti. That's the position of transcendental life. That's called Swarupa. And Virupa is still being oppressed by the modes of material nature. And being more interested in sense gratification and so forth. So this virupa means that we're attached to what's called the sarvapadis, upadis. Those are false designations of ourself. So that's another verse, Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 19:170, where, and that was spoken by Narada Muni, and the Pancharatra, his Pancharatra, and it's also quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 19:170. So when one attains this position, this level of swarupa, where one is completely self-satisfied, one is transcendental modes of material nature, one is associating with pure devotees and hearing their lectures and engaging full-time in devotional service, then they become free of false designations and false identifications. And at that point, they enter into the spiritual world. But people who always see designations of themselves and others, what do? They always end up fighting, getting into fights. And so nations fight with each other, neighbors fight with each other, family members fight with each other, and so forth. That means that people are not educated. They have no spiritual knowledge at all. And there are different symptoms of that. And one is that they become attached to the material body and material relationships. And so Krishna quotes the verse, 2nd chapter, 11th verse, Asochanam vasochas tvam, pragdavatam stavasase, gatasum cha nanasochanti pandita. That Krishna tells Arjuna, you are speaking words of wisdom, but you're lamenting for something that's not worthy of lamenting. In other words, Arjuna is lamenting that he's going to have to fight with his relatives and kill them. So Krishna says that you're speaking like a great scholar, but you're lamenting only for the body and the bodily concept of life. Gatasum cha nanaso chanti pandita. So Prabhupada says, so far the body is concerned, either is dead or alive, a learned man does not care for it. That is Swarupa. What's more important is the soul, much more important than the body. We don't ignore the body, we maintain it, but our real concern is our soul, because that is eternal. So this is a main theme that Prabhupada talks about, is that people who are in spiritual life, they're more concerned with what's called sat. Sat means things that are eternal. And people that are in material life and lack spiritual knowledge, they're concerned only with things that are asat. That means material things that begin, stay for a little while, and end. So which one is better? Something eternal that never has a beginning and never has an end, that's always existing, or temporary things that come into existence, last for some time, and then disappear, and you end up with nothing. So obviously, in spiritual life, we're more interested in sat, what is eternal. And that is the meaning of swarupa, being concerned with your eternal soul that's full of bliss and knowledge. Okay, so these were some of the verses. There are at least, if we count the first two that I didn't count yesterday, you have, therefore, 14 verses in the first 2 pages. Did anybody do their homework this year? No. Okay. Did you know about the homework? Yeah. Okay. It's nice to do the homework. So. Well, it's a long lecture. It's about What? Okay, well that's all right. We'll be going over this for the next 3 days, so bring it tomorrow. But if you have my web page, my email, you can email it to me. Like several people emailed me their homework. One was Sun Wook sent homework. Well, 3 people sent their homework. Okay, so anyway, now we'll continue reading. Do you have a copy of this lecture? No? Did you read it at home? 552? What you do is you go on Google and you put SB, meaning Srimad Bhagavatam, 5.5.2, Hyderabad, 1975. And it'll come up right away. You want to write that down? What? SB, Srimad Bhagavatam, 5.5.2, Hyderabad, 1975. Yeah, you have to put 1975. Oh, I'm sorry, Hyderabad, April 13, 1975. You have to put April 13, 1975, because there's another one that's April 11, 1975. It's not the same one. Did you put April 13, 1975? Did you write that down? Okay, well, it's not 1875. It's 1975. Yeah. All right, so you have it now. If you put in Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.2, Hyderabad, April 13, 1975 on Google, this lecture will come up right away. Now, I would definitely take a look and print it out and start reading it, because we're going to go over this for another 3 days. Okay. Anyway, we'll continue now where we stopped. We stopped at the end of the second page, so now we're on page 3. And the last verse we discussed was Shri Chaitanya Manubhistam Shapitam Yena Bhutali Swayam Rupa Kada Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam. So we recite this verse whenever we say the prayers to the spiritual master. And it says, when will Sri Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? So Rupa Goswami is the author of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or the Nectar of Devotion, which is called the law book of Krishna consciousness. So he is like top guru in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. Lord Chaitanya instructed him and his brother Sanatan Goswami, and both of them wrote very important books about devotional service. But one of the most important books about devotional service is Nectar of Devotion. And we should, if you want to know about devotional service, you have to read the Nectar of Devotion. Okay, so now Prabhupada continues. We Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we are known as Rupa Nuga. Rupa Nuga means the followers of Rupa Goswami. So why we should become followers of Rupa Goswami? Because Shri Chaitanya Manubhistam Sapitam Yena Bhutali. He wanted to establish the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Manobhistam. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the same thing. This is called disciplic succession. Krishna wanted that everyone be surrendered to me, meaning Krishna. He personally therefore comes and he speaks Bhagavad Gita, aiming at Arjuna, who was perplexed in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and he explained karma, jnana, and yoga, and so many things. But ultimately he assured Arjuna My dear Arjuna, you are a very dear friend to me. Therefore I am speaking to you the real purpose of life. Sarvadharmam prityaja mam ekam saranam raja. So this is the 15th verse. And it is 18th chapter, 66th verse. Sarvadharmam prityaja. You should write it down. It's the 15th verse Prabhupada is quoting in this long lecture. So I don't know, he might quote maybe 30 verses, maybe more. So this is what you could call the outline of his lecture. And this is to learn to appreciate how everything Prabhupada says, he backs it up with Shastric evidence. This is the way to give a lecture. A lecture is not for somebody's personal opinion. The lecture is to state clearly, or support clearly, every statement we make with Shastric evidence. Then you become an expert in preaching. So there's 1866. Prabhupada says, this is the real purpose of life. What is the real purpose of life? Sarva dharmam prityaja. Mam ekam saranam raja. One should surrender to Krishna. That's the purpose of life. So Krishna wanted that people should take shelter of his lotus feet. That's, in other words, surrender to him. Sarva dharmam prityaja. But people misunderstood him. Therefore, Krishna came as a devotee. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Rupa Goswami could understand that. Therefore, he offered his first prayer to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate. Okay, this is verse 16. This verse says that Rupa Goswami quoted this verse, and Lord Chaitanya liked it very much. He says that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you are the most munificent incarnation because you are not only giving the knowledge of Krishna, but you are giving the process how to love Krishna. Krishna Prema Padayate. So you are Krishna, Krishnaya. I offer my humble obeisance to you, Krishnaya, now appeared as Krishna Chaitanya Namine. You have now appeared as Krishna Chaitanya. So this verse Rupa Goswami wrote or composed, and he said that Lord Chaitanya is the most generous, most kind, most merciful incarnation of Krishna. Because he doesn't ask people to do anything like Krishna did. Krishna said people have to surrender to me. But Lord Chaitanya, he freely distributed love of Krishna by teaching everyone the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. The verse is Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate. Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Godachuse Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya. See, if you print out this lecture, then you can follow it. And then anything you don't understand, you can look it up on the internet. This is a very famous verse. Where are these verses? It's in before the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita. If you have a Bhagavad Gita, you go in the introduction, and these verses are what devotees recite before they read Bhagavad Gita. So, Namo Mahavadanyaya much It's nice, yeah. Let's see, where is that verse? No, that one is not. If the first one is Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Shapitam Yena Bhutali. That one composed by Rupa Goswami. Okay, but this second one is another verse by Rupa Goswami, and okay, so that is in. You would have to get the songbook for that verse. That's quoted in the songbook. Yes, so in the songbook, there's the longer version of what's called the Guru Pranama prayers. So there's a shorter version in the introduction, but the longer version is in the songbook. This songbook here, you see, and it says, Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Premapadayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gorachase Namaha. O most munificent incarnation, you are Krishna himself, appearing as Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You have assumed the golden color of Srimati Radharani, and you are widely distributing pure love of Krishna. We offer our respectful obeisances unto you. Okay. So if you have the Hare Krishna songbook, it is called the Guru Pranama prayers. Okay. All right. So now, so then he explains that verse, Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Premapadayate, again written by Rupa Goswami, who recognized that Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself, who's come as a devotee to teach by his example how to surrender to Krishna. Who else would know better than Krishna himself how to teach surrender to him, to himself? So that's who Lord Chaitanya is, as we're worshiping here, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda. They came together to spread the Krishna consciousness movement and the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and especially how to surrender to Krishna. Namo Mahavadanyaya. Okay, so then Prabhupada writes, so Krishna personally appeared as the devotee to reestablish the mission of Krishna, because after Krishna disappeared, the Krishna consciousness movement deteriorated. So in around about 3,500 years after Krishna's disappearance, Lord Chaitanya appeared, who is a combination of Lord Krishna and Radharani, to reestablish the correct understanding of surrendering to Krishna. So Krishna personally appeared as a devotee to reestablish the mission of Krishna. Krishna wanted Sarvadharman Parityaja. So that's verse 15. That's the 15th verse, right? And that is, he wanted everyone to surrender unto him. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu preached Krishna consciousness, Krishna Varnam Trisak Krishna, Sangapangastra Partsadam. So now this is another verse, and this is like the 17th verse in this lecture. And this you'll find this verse in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, in the purport, verse number verse number 10. And it's also quoted in Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 5th chapter, 32nd verse. So Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.32, or Bhagavad Gita, 3rd chapter, 10th verse. Okay, so Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto, 5th chapter, 32nd verse, or Bhagavad Gita, 3rd chapter, 10th verse in the purport. And this is a very important verse. If you want to preach Krishna consciousness, you have to know how to recite this verse. It says, in this age of Kali Yuga, People who are endowed with sufficient intelligence will worship the Lord, who is accompanied by his associates, by performance of Sankirtan Yagya. By the way, today we got permission to legally park our truck at the University Heights Community Center Sundays and Wednesdays, besides Saturdays. So now we can go 3 days a week there while this coronavirus lasts, and distribute more prasadam. Yeah, and also chant Hare Krishna and distribute books. So we'll need volunteers to help. So we're going to go Saturday and Sunday. Saturday will be same time, 5:30 to 8:30. Sunday will be 12 to 2. And Wednesdays will be again 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. So, Okay, good. Yeah, I'll probably do the Wednesday one. Yeah, okay, so this verse, Srimad Bhagavatam 11th Canto, 5th Chapter, 32nd verse, explains how to worship Lord Chaitanya. Prabhupada says, that Supreme Personality Godhead who is always chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, Krishna Varnyam, Jasak Krishna, okay, but his bodily complexion is not Krishna, not blackish, but yellowish, Tvisha. Yellowish means in Sanskrit Tvisha. Tvisha means by the complexion, Krishna, not Krishna. And another symptom, Sangopangastra Parsadam, he's associated with his most confidential devotees and expansions. Therefore we chant, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasti Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Okay, so this is verse number 18. In other words, the previous verse, Krishna Varnam Chisak Krishna Sangapangastra Parsadam Yajnai Sankirtana Parer Yajanti Hi Sumedasaha, that in Kali Yuga, people who have good intelligence, they worship Lord Krishna. They worship Lord Chaitanya, who is non-different than Lord Krishna, who's endowed, who's accompanied by his associates. So whenever you go out on Sankirtan, it's never one person. It's 3 or 10 or 30 or 300 people, and everyone's chanting Hare Krishna. And that's what Lord Chaitanya did 500 years ago. He spread this movement by performing Sankirtan, the congregational chanting of the holy names of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And he was always accompanied by his intimate associates, Lord Nityananda, Shri Advaitacharya, Shri Gadadhara, Shri Vasa, and other devotees. So the Lord is always accompanied by his associates, and they perform Harinam Sankirtan. This is Sangopangastra Parsadam. That's a quote from the verse. This form of the Lord, Yajnai Sankirtanai, he's worshipped not by ritualistic ceremony, which is very expensive, or performance of yajna. That is not possible in this age because there are no yajnik brahmanas at the present moment. In other words, you don't have brahmanas who are properly trained to say the mantras in Kali Yuga. So this bhavik yajna is prohibited in Kali Yuga because they are not properly performed. It's not possible. It's not possible to do any of the Vedic yajnas as prescribed in the Vedas in Kali Yuga. People can try, but they usually don't do them properly. So, at the present moment, all these Vedic rituals that have been recommended and yajnas, there are no Brahmins that are able to do them correctly. However, therefore, Lord Chaitanya preach the Harinam Sankirtan Yagya that everyone can do. That is, and go out in public and chant the holy names of Krishna as we do. Now we're going to do it every Friday, every Saturday, Sunday, and Wednesday. Haribol. So, therefore, yagya to be performed at this moment in time, in this Kali Yuga, is yajnai sankirtana parar yajanti hi sumedasaha. Sumedasaha means with good brain substance, with good intelligence. Those who have no brain or no brain substance, they're called alpamedasa. That is also in the Bhagavad Gita. So this is verse number so verse number 18 is a Pancha Tattva mantra. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhaktivinoda. And now verse number 19 that Prabhupada quotes is, well, he only mentions one word of it. It's alpamedasa. Oh no, he mentions one line of it. Tad bhavati alpamedasa. Now what verse is that? That's in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And it is verse number 1 second. How many stays there? That is why am I not seeing this? Oh yeah. Okay. That is 7th chapter 23rd verse. That's verse number 19 that Prabhupada is quoting. 7th chapter 23rd verse. Antavat tu phalam tesam tad bhavati alpamedasam. Alpamedasam means less intelligent. Devan deva yajo yanti mad bhakta yantimam api. Men of small intelligence, alpamedasa, worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. So people who are less intelligent, they don't perform Sankirtan Yagya. They try and engage in rituals, and none of those rituals are done correctly anyway. And they may obtain some benefit from it, but ultimately it is for material benefit, and therefore it's more or less a waste of time. You know. Okay, so that's 19th verse, 7th chapter, 23rd verse. The 19th verse that's quoted by Prabhupada. So alpamedasa means there is no brain substance. The mind, the head is filled with cow dung. You ever see anyone whose head is full of cow dung? No. Well, yeah, you know these guys that have these earphones on. They're going down the street, going like this and like that. They have cow dung in their head. Yeah. So one should be sumedasaha. So alpamedasaha means less intelligent, and sumedasaha means nice brain substance. Just like subhadra, right? Bhadra means auspicious. Subhadra means the most auspicious, right? And medasa means intelligent. So alpamedasa means less intelligence, and sumedasa means superior intelligence. Okay? So those who are sumedasaha, means with good brain substance, they perform yajnar, sankirtanar, or sankirtan yagya, Hare Krishna. Just see the effect of Hare Krishna mantra. This yagya has been performed all over the world. How quickly they are capturing Krishna consciousness. Just see the effect practically. Therefore, those who are intelligent, having good brain substance, they should perform yagya sankirtan and worship Lord Chaitanya. So if you want to worship Lord Chaitanya, you go out on sankirtan. And it's a sign that you are a superior intelligent person. You going to come on sankirtan? Okay, you have to wait till the coronavirus is finished. Okay. So Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasti Gaura Bhakta Vrindam. I offer my humble obeisance to Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Acharya, Gadadhar Shivasa, and all others in the line of devotion. So these ideas can be had only if we follow the Mahajana. The Mahajana means that Srila Rupa Goswami, he understood Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. About Rupa Goswami, it is said, Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghuya Go, Shri Jiva Gopala Go. Krishna Kirtana Ganat Nartana Paro Premamritambo Nidhi. Dira Dira Jana Priyo Priyakaro Nirmatsarano Pujito. Shri Chaitanya Kripa Baro Bhuvi Bhuvo Bara Vahantarako. Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghuya Go, Shri Jiva Gopalako. So this is a beautiful prayer. When I was a very young devotee and a young president of a temple in Paris, I invited Prabhupada to come, and he came. And when he sat down on his Vyasan, he began to sing this song, this bhajan. It's very beautiful. Krishna Kirtana Nagana Natana Krishna Kirtana Gana Natana Paro Permamritambo Nidhi Dira Dira Jana Priyo Priyakaro Nirmatsaro Pujito Shri Chaitanya Kripa Baro Bhuvi Bhuvo Paravahantarako Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyago Shri Jiva Gopalako. So it's a very beautiful, it has 8 verses, and it describes the life of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavana, and how they were all pure devotees, and how everybody loved them because they had no material desires at all. They were doing good to everyone, and they associated with poor people and helped them tremendously. 1971. That's before you were born, probably. 1971. So now Prabhupada begins to talk about something different. So this verse, Krishna Kirtana Gana Nartana Paro Premamritam Bodhidhi, this is verse number 20. This is the 20th verse he's quoted. In the first, we haven't even finished the first 4 pages. You see how dense and intense Prabhupada's preaching is. In less than 4 pages, he's already quoted 20 verses, and they're all important verses. And they all follow each other in a sequence. They're all related. This is how to preach. Not that we can do this ourselves now, but at least we should appreciate what Prabhupada does when he preaches. So now he begins to talk about the 6 Goswamis. Why is he talking about them? Because they're pure devotees. And what is this? What is the first verse that he's talking about? Mahat sevam dwaram ahur vimuktes tamo dwaram yositam sangi sangam. That means if you want to go back to Godhead and you want to have eternal life, then you must associate and offer service to Mahat, to pure devotees. On the other hand, if you want to stay in the material world and have repeated birth and death and all kinds of different bodies, then associate with people who are only interested in sense gratification. So that's 5th canto, 5th chapter, 2nd verse. So now he's going to talk about the 6 Goswamis because they're all pure devotees on the highest level. The 6 Goswamis of Vrindavana, they lived in Vrindavana by the order of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya ordered them, go to Vrindavan and rediscover all the places of pilgrimage, all the places of Krishna's pastimes. The present Vrindavana, a holy place, was made by Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami. These are 2 brothers. Now Prabhupada's going to explain their history. These 2 brothers, they were ministers in the government of Nawab Hussain Shah. Practically, they became Mohammedans, Muslims. Their names were changed because in those days, the Brahmana community was very strict. Any Brahmana accepting service, meaning accepting to serve anybody, but in other words, accepting to get a job, a paid job, and work for someone, and especially if that someone is a Muslim, it could be a Hindu also, he'll be immediately excommunicated. You know what that means, excommunicated? You know what that means, Krishna, excommunicated? No. You want to write it down?
Yeah.
EX. You should learn this word before it happens to you.
Oh.
EX. COMM. EX COMM UNICATED. Excommunicated. You got it? This means, X means outside, communicated, outside the community. You're kicked out because you're nonsense. So the Brahmins kicked out Rupa and Sanatan Goswami from their community. Said, you're no longer part of us because you're working, because a Brahmana should never accept working for somebody. You know why? Anybody know why? You know why? If you meet someone and say, oh, I was born a Brahmana, and they pull out their Brahmin thread, and they say, and I work for Microsoft, then immediately you should know they're not a Brahmana. Because Brahmanas never work for anyone. The reason is, by not working for anybody, they are independent, and therefore they can speak the truth. But if you work for someone, you'll not be able to always speak the truth, because your employer might throw you out. So the Brahmanas were so strict over 500 years ago, when Rupa and Sanatan Goswami were working for Nawab Hussain Shah, who was the king of Bengal. Bengal was a rich place at that time, and he was a prominent king. And they were his top ministers in the government. So Prabhupada said, any Brahmana accepting service, in other words, accepting to be employed by someone, he'll be immediately excommunicated. You know what excommunicated means? What's it mean? Yes, you're kicked out. Get out. Like that. You're finished. You're fired, as Donald Trump said. You're fired. No, you are not Brahmana. Brahmana's business is not to serve others. Brahma karma swabhavajam. they should remain. Everyone was independent. They should remain independent. Brahmana is independent. Kshatriya is independent. Vaishya is independent. Simply Sudras are dependent. So in those days, 500 years ago, these two brothers were born of a very high-class Brahmana family. They were learned scholars, but because they accepted the service of Nawab Hussain Shah, they were excommunicated. So practically they became Mohammedans themselves. Their names were changed to Dabir Kasa and Sakara Malika. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made them Goswami. Go means senses, Swami means master. So if you get the title Goswami, that means you've mastered your senses. Senses means the five senses: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, plus the mind, intelligence. So, actually there's 6 senses. There's eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, and the mind. So 6 senses. So you're a Goswami if you've controlled them. Okay. This is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was able to make these 2 Brahmins who became Muslims into Goswamis. It's not easy to do that. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made them Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami. Goswami, Prabhupada says, is not a caste title. Goswami means one who has control over the senses. Go means senses and Swami means master. Those who are servant to the senses, they cannot become Goswami. That is not Goswami. Servant of senses is Godasa, not Goswami. So, do you know anyone named Godas? Me too. It's my middle name, Godas. You know what Godas means? What? Right. So that's like a donkey. Donkey is working all day just for his own senses. So Goswami is different than Godas. Goswami is master of the senses, and Godas is servant of the senses. Servant of the senses, that is Godas, not Goswami. So, Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyago. The 6 Goswamis, if we follow their footprints, Rupa Nuga Varayate, then we also become Goswami. This is the process. Therefore, anywhere you go, it is required. Mahat Seva. What does Mahat Seva mean? What does Seva mean? Seva. Service. Mahat Seva. Huh? No, not Mahat, not Maha. Mahat. No, Mahat means serving a pure devotee. Yeah. So, therefore, anywhere you go, it is required Mahat Seva. Bahanam janmanamante gyanavam prapadyante vasudeva sarvamiti sa mahatma sudurlabhaha. So, Mahat or Mahatma means a genuine devotee, an elevated devotee, a pure devotee. And now this is the 21st verse that Prabhupada has quoted, and we still haven't finished page 4. This says Bhagavad Gita 7.19. This says, after many, many births and deaths, one who comes to knowledge, spiritual knowledge, understands Vasudeva Sarvamiti. What does that mean? Vasudeva Sarvam. Sarvam means all. And Vasudeva Sarvamiti means, when you come to the conclusion that Krishna is everything for me, then you become Mahatma or Mahat, a very rare, elevated devotee, where you have no other interest than Krishna. This is Mahatma. one who has fully surrendered to lotus feet of Krishna after mature experience and wisdom. Bahunam janmanam ante. Many, many births we may go on philosophizing. This is Brahman, this is not Brahman. Neti, neti. Not this, not that. But after many, many births, this is Jnanavam. In other words, someone who has attained real spiritual knowledge. The Jnanis, they are after Brahman realization. So Krishna says, Bahunam janmanam ante Jnanavan mam prapadyante. Bhagavad Gita 7:19. After many, many births of this Brahman realization or Paramatma realization, one may come to the platform of realizing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Who is that Supreme Person? Vasudeva, meaning the son of Vasudeva or Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabhaha. O Krishna, you are everything for me. Such a person is an exceptional or Mahatma, or great devotee. That is Mahatma. One who knows Vasudeva Sarvamiti, that is Mahatma. That is required. And if we can serve such Mahatma, then our path of liberation, or mukti, will be open. That is stated here, Mahat Sevam Dwaram Ahur Vimukta. So what does Dwaram mean? Door, yeah. So how do you say, let's see, how do you say close the door in Hindi? Yeah. Darvasa, Bandarva, yeah. So Darvasa, so Dwaram, Darvasa is coming from that word, although Darvasa is a Urdu word, but it comes from the Sanskrit Dwaram. Yeah. In Hindi you say Dwar. Yeah, so that's the Hindi word. Yeah. And the other way, one path to mukti, another path is bondage. So you have two things. Either you go back to Godhead, or you attain or you obtain liberation, or you go back into bondage, to the cycle of birth and death. Prabhupada says, two things are there, bondage and mukti. Anda yatandar upaniyamanas tepisa tantriyam urudamni badha. So this is the 22nd verse. 22nd verse, quoted by Prabhupada. And Anda yatandar upaniyamanas tepisa tantriyam urudamni badha. Okay, so that verse, 1 second. Let me find that. Anda yatandar paniyamanam. That is Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto. A-N-D-H. Shri Radha Nilamadhava Ki Jai. So that's the 7th canto, 5th chapter, 31st verse. 7th canto, 5th chapter, 31st verse. 7.5.31. And what does that say? It says, Nate vidu swartakatim hi Vishnum durasaya yer bahir arta manina anda yatandar upaniyamanas tepisa tantriyam urudamni badha. Now this is a very important verse often quoted by Prabhupada, and he says, persons who are strongly entrapped by the consciousness of enjoying material life, and who have therefore accepted as their leader or guru a similar blind man attached to external sense objects, cannot understand that the goal of life is to return home back to Godhead and engage in the service of Lord Vishnu. As blind men guided by other blind men miss the right path and fall into a ditch, materially attached men led by another materially attached man are bound by the ropes of fruitive labor, which are made of very strong cords, and therefore continue again and again in materialistic life, suffering the threefold miseries. Ouch. Yes. So this is a very important verse. If you learn this verse, you'll be first-class preacher. Of course, if you don't listen and don't do your homework, you won't learn anything, and you'll be first-class fool. A first-class dunce. You know what a dunce is? D-U-N-C-E? Yes, dunce is someone who's really stupid. In fact, there's something called the dunce hat. They used to do this in schools. When someone was really stupid, they would have to sit in a high chair with this very strange hat on, and all the kids would make fun of them. Right? Looks like basically they would look like a clown with that hat on. So that's the dunce hat. In fact, I should make one. We can put it on someone who's acting stupid. Right? Anyway, it's not fun to make fun of people, but it's not nice to be stupid either. So it's good to pay attention and take notes. So this is a very important verse. Let me read it again. Persons who are strongly entrapped by the consciousness of enjoying material life. So this is Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th chapter, 7th canto, 5th chapter, 31st verse, 7.5.31. 7.5.31. This is the 22nd verse Prabhupada has quoted in this lecture, and we haven't even gotten halfway through it. This is a very big lecture by Prabhupada. Okay, so persons who are strongly entrapped by the consciousness of enjoying material life and who have therefore accepted as their leader or guru a similar blind man attached to external sense objects cannot understand that the goal of life is to return home back to Godhead and engage in the service of Lord Vishnu. As blind men, guided by other blind men, miss the right path and fall into a ditch, materially attached men led by another materially attached man are bound by the ropes of fruitive labor, which are made of very strong cords, and therefore continue again and again in materialistic life, suffering the threefold miseries. Okay. So now Prabhupada says, Bada means bound up. We are in our material condition of life. We are bound up tight. Hands and legs are bound up. We cannot do anything independently. So we discussed this. No one is actually free in the material world. And we have the proof of that today. It's called coronavirus. Everyone's afraid. And they're keeping 6 feet. Hey, by the way, we play 6 feet. You know how to play that game, 6 feet? Well, I invented that game. This is years ago. What can you explain what that game is, 6 feet, and who it's for, Krishna? Yeah. 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 Exactly. So I invented that game years ago. You see, now Trump has what do you call that? Commissioned it as a technique to avoid coronavirus. So now, if you wait in line outside of Costco in the morning, you're supposed to keep 6 feet distance between the next person and you. So now they're playing my game in Costco, 6 feet game. Interesting. Okay, so that's for people who do nonsense, right, Krishna? Yeah. Okay. You don't do nonsense, right? No. Yeah, you said yes like that. Okay. So it is people. So we cannot do anything independently. Now, the symptom of a less intelligent person is they think that they are independent of God, independent of the laws of nature, independent of everyone. But yet, by acting in that way, they get more and more entangled, or bada, bound up by the ropes of karma. So, we must know that it's not possible to be independent. People are declaring independence. That is not possible. That is our foolishness. Badha, urudamni badha. Just like uru means this waist. If you are bound up by a rope, just like thieves are carried and handcuffed and bound up on the waist, what can you do? So we are uru damni badha. Uru means very strong, damni means rope, badha means tied up. Just like the bulls are bound up in the nostril and the driver is moving the bull, immediately he has to move this way, immediately that way, although he's a very strong bull, but urudamni badha, because of that ring in his nose, as soon as the driver pulls to the right, the bull turns right. And if he pulls to the left, the bull turns left. And if he pulls both of them at the same time, the bull stops. So because of the ring in its nose. So we're all bound up in the same way by the modes of material nature. So therefore, Maya's name is Guna Mayi. Guna means also rope. Guna. Guna Mayi, Tri Guna Mayi, means 3 ropes are binding us together very strongly. Similarly, this Maya, the stringent laws of material nature, or Prakriti, is very, very strong. You cannot declare independence. That's not possible. If you really want independence, then you must Mahat Sevam Dwaram Ahur Vimuktes. What does that mean? Mahat Sevam Dwaram Ahur Vimuktes. Anybody know? That's to serve a pure devotee. Yeah. Here comes somebody with coronavirus. Probably you have the virus? But they say on the news that only people who have the virus should wear the mask. Yeah, that's the whole point. Yeah, take it off. Okay, now you don't have the virus. You took off the mask. Haribo. Haribo. About the bull? So it says, just like the bulls are bound up in the nostril and the driver is moving like this, immediately he has to move this way, immediately that way, although he's a very strong bull. But urudamni bada, no, it's the bull is an example of urudamni bada, which means we're bound up by these. We have no real independence. We're bada, we're bound up. Okay. So now we have done 22 verses. We'll stop right there for tonight. And your homework for tomorrow is to quote the verses 15 to 22. So the verses 1 to 14, and now 15 to 22. So 15 is 1816, Sarvadharman Parityaja. Number 16 is Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate, so that you'll find in the introductory verses called Guru Pranama prayers in the songbook on page 19. What? Okay. Yesterday's homework was to write down the first 14 verses on the 2 pages of this lecture that Prabhupada quoted. Yeah. And now today we went over verses 15 to 22 on the next 2 pages of this lecture. So verse 15 is 1866 in Bhagavad Gita. You have to look it up and write it down. Verse 16 is Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate. It's called Shri Gauranga Pranama, and it's in the Vaishnava Songbook, page 19. You'll see Namo Mahavadanyaya. Do you understand it? You know where to look? You're going to look on the television or what? Where are you going to find it? Yeah. Yes. Yes. And the lecture, you know how to access the lecture? What? Okay. Okay, so that's verse 16. Verse 17 is Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.32. 11. So that's verse 17. Or you can also find it on Bhagavad Gita 3.10. Krishna Varnam Stisak Krishna Sangapangasta Parsadam Yajnai Sankirtana Parer Yajanti Mam Sumedasaha. And then verse 18 is the Panchatattva prayer. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Verse 19 is Bhagavad Gita 7:23. Antavat tu phalam te sam tad bhavati ultimatasam devan devo yaji anta madbhakta antimamapi. That's 7th chapter, 23rd verse, Bhagavad Gita. Verse number 20 is from the prayers to the 6 Goswamis. Krishna Kirtana Gana Nartana Paro Premamritam Bodhidhi. And verse number 21 is Bhagavad Gita 7th chapter, 19th verse. Bahanam Janmanam Ante Gyanavam Mam Prapadyante. And verse 22 is Srimad Bhagavatam 7th canto, 5th chapter, 31st verse. And that is Nate Vidu Swartakatim Hi Vishnum. Okay? So if you look these, you should print out this lecture by Prabhupada. It's a fantastic lecture. And we're going to we'll go over all the verses again tomorrow from 1 to 22 and then continue. And you'll see in this one lecture, I'm sure he's going to quote like at least 40 verses, if not more. He's got a lot of verses in this. And these are all important verses if you want to be a good preacher in Krishna consciousness. Thank you very much. Haribol, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Haribol, Prabhu. You scared me, Prabhu.
No. Last week I also.
What's that?
Last week I was